Welcome to Day 4 of 12 Days of Truth with a segment on health matters. Have you ever heard of this doctor? What about the importance of washing our hands? You might be surprised to find out that the value of this particular action wasn't always recognized by the medical establishment. Dr. Ignaz Philipp Semmelweiss worked in a hospital that had two wards, one run by midwives and the other run by doctors. In the midwives' ward, 4 out of 400 patients died, while in the doctors' ward, 100 out of 400 died. What was the difference? He investigated and found that doctors did not bother with cleanliness. They would routinely leave the morgue without washing and then go directly to the patient ward. In the early 1800s, doctors took pride in how blood-encrusted their lab coats became. The midwives, in contrast, did no autopsies, wore clean clothes, and frequently washed their hands. Dr. Semmelweiss saw the difference and instituted hand washing with soap and water. The death rate immediately dropped. The other doctors thought this was just a coincidence and rebelled against the dreadful burden of washing their hands. Semmelweiss was fired for causing discord among the medical staff. The hospital threw out the basins with the soap and water. Of course, the death rate climbed back to record highs. For 8 months, he tried to regain a respectable position in the hospital, to no avail. He later wrote an excellently documented book on his work, which only spurred sarcasm from his opponents. The strain of jeering physicians, plus the many resulting deaths, weighed heavily on his mind until he eventually was committed to a mental institution where he died of a blood infection. Years later, in the 1860s, doctors finally acknowledged that hand washing and cleanliness did prevent disease. Thousands of people needlessly died between when Dr. Semmelweiss solved this problem and his solution was finally acknowledged. All due to pride, ignorance, resistance to change, and stubbornness. These deaths could have been prevented if the Bible had been believed and practiced. In the books of Leviticus and Numbers, strict rules are set forth concerning contact with corpses and people with disease. We take this for granted today, but God revealed these truths over 3,000 years ago. Whenever the Bible touches upon scientific subjects, it is accurate. Instead of washing our hands of God's Word, we need to apply all that it says to our lives, even when it comes to matters of health and hygiene, such as washing our hands. We read in Leviticus, "And whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even." Leviticus 15:11. In James 4 we read, "Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded."
Hi, Jeff Setzer here with Creation Family Ministries. While most of today's segment was taken from inspired evidence, only one reality, a portion of today's segment came from None of These Diseases by Dr. S.I. McMillan. Can you believe that the medical establishment was resistant to something so basic as hand washing? I have news for you. The medical establishment is still resistant to things that are mentioned in the Bible. Things such as herbs, which God said in Psalm 104 that they were made for the service of man. What we exclusively have heard recently is just masks and vaccines concerning COVID, when at first they talked a lot about hand washing and other things like coughing into your elbow. Well, folks, as I said, the medical establishment is still resistant to things that are mentioned in the Bible. What we need to do is go to God's Word for, shall we say, some instruction concerning our health needs, because He's the great physician. Well, I've got some more videos coming that I think you'll enjoy. Thank you for watching.